Welcome to the Panic Button. My name's Nina. Jess isn't here today. She had to work overnight, so she's sleeping right now, so it's just you and me. Nice to see you. So today I was on X and I saw that someone called the police on JK Rowling. Rowling? And I found out it was a man named India Willoughby. Willoughby. Anyway, called the police on JK Rowling for an alleged hate crime for, oh my god, misgendering? Misgendering? How dare she? Oh my god, I wonder what he has to say for himself.
JK Rowling has definitely committed a crime. I'm legally a woman. She knows I'm a woman, and she calls me a man. It's a protected characteristic, and that is a breach of both the Equalities Act and the Gender Recognition Act. She's tweeted that out to 14 million followers. If you check out the accounts that have been responding to me on the back of that, her trigger, it's absolutely disgusting, putrid, some of the worst abuse I've ever seen on social media. And I know I'm at the centre of it, I might be a little bit biased.
Well, what are you going to do about this?
What am I going to do about it? Well, I've been to the police and I've reported it as an issue. I contacted Northumbria Constabulary yesterday.
So you reported JK Rowling
I have
to the
reported
police?
JK Rowling to the police for what she said.
Wow, a man called the police on a woman for identifying him as a man, which he is. That's like a wolf dressing up like a sheep and then being like, I know you're a wolf, and the wolf calling the cops for just pointing out a fact. When you're getting arrested or when you're getting cops called on you for identifying a fact, your country's fucked, dude, because that's nuts. That's absolutely nuts. Now, if we were to go into the comments and to see what people actually thought about this, and a lot of people said a lot of different things, like, to no one's surprise, is that yet again a biological male that's throwing a fit fueled by the hatred and envy they have towards women. Amen. Amen. This man is so weak. Amen. Man calls police on a woman because she called him he. That's true. How crazy is that? That's nuts. That's nuts. Where are we today? I'm glad the U.S. isn't like the U.K. and that we have freedom of speech and we don't have this absolute nonsense. I mean, what the fuck are the police for? Knock on your door. Hey, so you call this man a man, but he's a she, and how dare you? Don't you know his penis is a vagina? Now we have to arrest you. That's suppressing speech. Shouldn't that be wrong? I think so. But we're not surprised, are we? We're not surprised at all. This is so common. Now, JK Rowling, she has posted on her Twitter, men defining what a woman is, what women should and shouldn't fear, what women should and shouldn't say, what rights women should be fine with giving up, and of course, what constitutes real misogyny. Get a bloody mirror. That's real misogyny. Looking right back at you. That's true. This doesn't give the trans community a very good look. You're so frail that you have to call the cops on a woman for clocking you? That is... And I say this because women, we have this, well, I don't know if women now have this intuition, but we have this intuition. It's au naturel. When we walk into a room and we see people about, we're checking to see where the men are. Well, we don't do this intentionally. It's something we just naturally do because we're identifying our surroundings and making sure that there are no predators. No one is going to attack us because we are the weaker of the human species. You know, the men are the most stronger, no matter what the gender activists try to say. Men are more stronger. So women, we have this... sorry, off the accent. Women have this natural ability to kind of sniff out bad men. We don't always get it right, but a lot of the time we do. But nowadays, women are told to suppress that feeling because it's bigotry. But actually, it's a safety mechanism that we inherently have that we've been recently shamed for, which is crazy because that is so dangerous for biological women. Trans women do not have the same fear of men that women do. And I don't want to go into that because YouTube has been a fucking dick and demonetizing our videos, so I won't get into the detail of that. But anyway, it's not a very good look for the trans community. It's making you look like middle school bullies. Nasty, immature, can't take a joke, no backbone, no guts, and the frailest skin. No thick skin. Like bow down to me! I'm a trans woman! And you shall suck my trans woman penis. What the are we talking about now? I don't know. This is the world we live in, guys. We're here, and I'm not queer. So get used to it, because I'm not using that word to identify myself. Moving on from that craziness. I want to get into the WPATH thing, but I'm going to wait for Jess on that, because there's a couple things that I want to go over. There was a video that Bug Angel posted, and I want to touch on this a little bit.
What most people don't know, though, is that my dog, much like myself, was assigned male at birth. However, we are both girls. Here's your friendly reminder that gender is a human-made construct that is not based in reality. When it comes to animals, dogs don't care about gender, but humans do. Hera, for example, has never once lifted her leg to pee. She is not territorial. However, she has humped one dog that has humped her, and she has humped her own.
First off,
now we're putting our human ideas of gender identity and we're projecting it onto animals who could give a flying fuck nor have no idea what the hell you are saying. Now this makes the trans community look even worse because now you guys are looking even more crazy. And it's not the real transsexuals' fault. It's the people who have co-opted the movement, invaded, infiltrated, and are stolen valoring the quote-unquote community. So now, when regular people think about trans, they think about these crazy people who are identifying their dogs as trans and non-binary and all that stuff. So this made me think about what happened to the mental institutions. They closed down, right? Why? Deinstitutionalization. So I did some digging into the matter, and this is what I got. Deinstitutionalization is a policy for state hospitals that began in the period of the civil rights movement when many groups were being incorporated into mainstream society. Three forces drove the movement of people with severe mental illness from hospitals into the community. One, the belief that mental hospitals were cruel and inhumane. Two, the hope that new antipsychotic medications offered a cure. And three, desire to save money. So the United States experienced two main waves of deinstitutionalization. The first wave began in the 1950s and targeted people with mental illness. The second wave began roughly 15 years later and focused on individuals who had been diagnosed with a developmental disability. But it fully began in the 1970s and was due to financial incentives like Social Security and disability. So what does that mean, all that? What it means is that the institutions were doing a job. Maybe they were underfunded. Maybe they had a corrupt system, corrupt people in power. They weren't overseeing what was going on. They were overcrowded. They didn't have the help they needed, the amount of help they needed. Probably didn't have enough information on the mental illnesses that came into the state hospital. So what do? Well, what they did was abuse and neglect. So that didn't really work out for them because then they ended up getting closed down. And the police did use institutionalization on people who didn't deserve it or need it just because they were a quote-unquote hassle. But also, the police were very corrupt back then, especially LA, so not surprising. One instance I can think of is Christine Collins. You can look her up if you've ever seen the movie Changeling. It's based on a true story. She's the mom in the story. Great movie. Check it out. But she was institutionalized by the police, the corrupt police, for gaslighting her into thinking that the son that had gotten kidnapped, who they had found and brought back, was not her son, which it wasn't her son. They forced her to take him in as if it was her son, even though it wasn't. And then when she went to the cops and was like, hey, where's my son? You guys aren't looking for my son. I have this kid who's not my son. You said you were going to keep looking for him and you're not looking for him. And they said, well, because this is your son. You said this is your son. Well, if you're going to give us a hard time and you don't think this is your son, then there's something wrong with your brain. We need to institutionalize you. So they threw her in the asylum. So it wasn't a good place for people, understandably so. But could we have done a better job instead of just shutting them all down and throwing them out into the street and hoping that the community or their families would take care of them? Yeah, we could have done a way better job, but we didn't. Anyway, why do I bring up the institutions? Is because these people who have psychosis, who aren't transsexual, need help. Being trans is kind of the scapegoat for mental illness, it seems. And a lot of people have been saying, bring back the institutions. Maybe we should. So what happened is they closed them down, and then the community was supposed to take care of them. But if you have a mental illness, you're not apt to go out and seek help for yourself. And hoping that they have family that will take care of them and guide them into getting help is just... The wishful thinking is detrimental. It's very ignorant, especially now. But someone with a mental illness is not going to have the wherewithal or the get up and go to seek help, housing, therapy. They're not going to do that. So taking them from an institution where they're getting one-on-one help and throwing them out into the street, it's just a disaster waiting to happen. A lot of them ended up in prisons or homeless or on drugs. And it's been that way for a while now. More institutions have closed. I think the last one closed in 2012 or something like that. Don't quote me on it, but
into the 20th century, late 19th, early 20th century, the noble idea of putting patients into hospitals for treatment stopped being as effective, partly because people didn't think that just putting somebody into a place was all that effective. Part of it was that the institutions started to get more and more crowded. And some of that was because people didn't seem to be leaving after a few years. And with industrialization and people moving into cities and big extended families starting to fall apart, there were no places for people to go and no support systems, no community supports. So the hospitals started getting more and more crowded.
The state began to shut them down.
People were very unhappy with state hospitals, and psychiatrists were also unhappy with state hospitals. They were not satisfied the patients were getting good care. And so there was a movement within psychiatry, a social psychiatry movement that really wanted to see people taken care of in their communities, and also a movement within the political realm to try to get patients back out of the hospitals and into their communities.
It wasn't a good answer to what happens after they close down the asylums. They should have had a plan, like something prepared. So when they did close down these asylums, these people did have like a halfway house to go to, but it doesn't seem to be the case at all. So I think we do need to bring back institutions, but they would need to be better funded. And there would need to be overseers who weren't corrupt. And I don't know how you would weed out corruption. It's because corruption is everywhere in society and it's in every system. How do you weed it out? What is the answer to that? Because the answer isn't closing down institutions, but they need to be run better. And there should be no DEI in the facilities and in the hiring process and any of that stuff, because when it comes to working with the mentally ill, the last thing you want to do is hire people for the color of their skin and their sexuality instead of hiring them for how well they do at the job or how intelligent they are at the job, how good they are at the job. Because working with mentally ill people, you have to be a certain type of person. And I also think you should be paid way better because of the intelligence, care, risk involved, and everything else. There's a lot that would need to go into that and a lot of thinking, and the last thing you would need is ideology involved in that. So maybe it's a good thing that psychiatric institutes and hospitals aren't running right now because of the crazy that's going on in our society. But I hope that if and when the craziness of DEI and non-merit-based things going on, if that dies down, then maybe there's a conversation to be had on opening back up institutions, but not the institutions like they have in LA and Malibu, where it's individually run, it's private, and there's not a lot of good therapy. It's usually just very expensive bullshit therapy. I think there needs to be more of an emphasis on therapy, maybe a little less on drugs, and it shouldn't be all about how much money can we make, but it should be financially well enough to give good quality care. What usually happens is a lot of state-run things have a lot of people who work there who don't care. I know this from experience. State-run anything, it's just there's so many hoops you have to jump through, and you have to do so much research on your own. And fingers crossed you actually have someone who would help you. And even if you do call, you can barely get an answer, if any answer at all. Or you'll get a wrong answer, and then you'll get a different answer from someone else, and you won't know what to do. And the waiting time, like, I could go on and on about this because I've had to deal with so many things like this before. I don't know where it went wrong. Corruption, not enough financial backing, greed, not having the right people in positions to be taking care of certain things. I don't know, man. But if you have any opinions, let me know in the comments below, because I have a lot of questions and I haven't been able to find a lot of answers. It seems when it comes to state-run anything, there's 5,000 different answers and not one of them is the real answer. So no, deinstitutionalization is not beneficial for someone with mental illness. Because you already got mental illness, and then having to jump through all these hoops for the maybe chance that you might get help, it makes you hopeless, supremely depressed, and having you know what kind of ideations that I can't say on YouTube or else we'll get demonetized. So have a good one. Like, subscribe, comment below, and join our membership so you can get early access to our videos. And if you have any recommendations for any perks for members, let us know in the comments below as well. Have a good one, guys.